Hello allesammans, hello everyone.
Maayong adlaw sa inyong tanan, magandang umaga o magandang hapon sa inyong lahat, whatever.
We are Viking reviewers. We are going to start collecting and speculating in comics now, primarily. This is our new hobby, so we have been buying some comics.
We are learning.
And we would like to share with you guys out there to see
What we're gonna learn and what we can buy or just anything, no filter.
yeah, so it's gonna be basically just us learning how to evaluate, how to look at comics, and we're also going to do reviews of the comics.
Can you tell me more? How's your experience? And like, did you grow up having comics early days or?
I had some comics, like I remember reading, of course, Donald Duck when I was a kid. And other things would be like Marvel and like X-Men and Superman, and Spawn was like a newer thing that I was into in my teens. And I haven't really been reading or collecting comics at all after that. How about you? Did you ever read any?
Okay, so growing up, we didn't have any comics, but I remember my uncles, they have like Filipino comics, like Spider-Man, but they're all in Tagalog, and some of them are in Japanese manga, anime, something like that. But I didn't really grow up having comics, but in later life, when I started working in tech, so that's where I sort of heard most of this, heard about that, and I think it's interesting to know that we can do it together.
Yeah, exactly. So we're actually married, and well, we are, and this is going to be sort of our hobby project together. So hopefully we can learn something on the road together with someone out there. So don't expect there to be like super professional reviews or super professional evaluation of comics. But hopefully everyone can have some fun along the road and learn something about the world of comics and collecting comics. So, for our first comic, we're going to review this one, which is called Space Adventures presents Space Trip to the Moon. It's number 26 of the Space Adventure series. This one came out in 1953. And we're gonna spend like a day to read the comic before giving it a review, and then we're gonna also do an evaluation of the worth of the comic, so stick around for that. Okay, so now we both read the comic, and we are going to give like a short review, I guess.
Oh, based on how I feel about the comics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it is about a fictitious a rocket trip, I should say, to the moon. And it's set in 1953, which is when the first edition of this comic came out. And that's actually 16 years before the actual first trip to the moon. So it does have a bit of retrofuturism, and it's sort of how the people at the time envisioned how the future would be, in the sense that this is how they envision how the moon landing would be. And my sense is that it's very clinical, very technical to the point, in a sense. It's less of a fantastic comic and more of a factual comic.
Yeah. For me, though, while reading the part, it feels like but it's the first comic that I read since I was like a bit grown up. So, oh, you made me read it. So
Yes.
it feels like while I'm reading the first part, it's like, you know, in the movies where the scene is that they're planning on going to very specific fictitious mission, going out somewhere, and that's how it feels like. That's the first part in a way, and I just feels like it's like so easy for them to sort of like the reality of how is it actually in real life. I feel like it's just very easy for them to do it.
Yeah, I agree. and it's like the story starts out with a professor and a general and a third person. I don't exactly remember who he was. Maybe he was like the hero or something like that.
He's like the commentator. He's like our own communication guy.
And the third guy is like it's like an average Joe. He's actually called Joe, and he's there, in my opinion, just so that the other characters can communicate directly to us. He has all the silly questions.
In the layman's term.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't really belong on the spaceship. He's just put there in a sense so that the other characters can talk directly to us. And they introduce a lot of the tropes that, as a person from 2023, take for granted. Like they take all these novel concepts like magnetic boots, and the fact that you have to go into a air dock to go outside a spaceship.
I do think about.
Yeah, and that you need to wear like a space suit, and that you can use like oxygen flasks as propellant.
But it's really amazed me if this comic is written 16 years before the actual moon landing. It's like, so it means like it's really amazed me that how the brain of the writer.
Yeah, it was obviously he obviously had contact with scientific people who thought about, because this was of course thought about a long time before he went to the moon. So it's like they had a vision of how it would be. Some of it is a bit fantastic. Like for example, they didn't use conventional propulsion rockets. They used some what was it, like nuclear powered rocket of some sort. Yeah.
And the thing is, based on the actual real life, if you're gonna be an astronaut, you need to have like extensive background. You need to prove why are you the right person to go there. You need to have a training, like we can hear internet, TV right now, or in the news that
so
it takes forever.
Exactly, and in this story, it's a bit like they were told that no, you're not allowed to send up your rocket because it has the nuclear engine, so the government is going to stop you. And then
send it tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to send it tomorrow, and we're going to just pick 4 random people,
but
and we're
the
going to send them to the moon.
Knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only the professor who built the.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand. It's like so suddenly they just came along and they're just like puppet. Oh, you do this, you do that.
Yeah, exactly. And overall, I felt like they conveyed a lot of the facts about space travel. That's how we know them today. At the same time, they had some silly things that they were saying. And of course, the narrative was very educational in the sense that, like I said, this Joe character, he was there so that all the other characters could talk directly to us.
Yeah, so
he was like a conduit so that they could say all the, magnetic boots, what are they for
example? You're gonna useful, you won't be able to. So
yeah, exactly.
And it's like the feeling, but actually the feelings when you're reading the comic, it's like, for me as the first time reader, it's really conveys my feeling that I was there, especially when they sort of landed on the moon, and they're like the professor, I feels like he's like Doctor Who.
Oh really? Yeah, you got that feeling?
I got a feeling because it's like there is no magic that's gonna happen, but I have to think something.
Oh yeah, because he has to use his brain.
He has to use his brain.
So I guess this differs a lot from, for example, Marvel or like superhero comics. In a sense that this is more like sciencey and less like fantastic and fantasy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do we give this a score then? And how do we feel about the book?
Well, for me though, I feels like it's super easy. It's like it's super fictitious. It's like super like in real life. It's not really happen like that. Like you don't really.
So you found it a bit absurd.
It's like absurd, but at the same time, it's just fantastic. It's like when you read, like you're being inside. It's like, oh, I was watching them while they're doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it feels like there are some lacking of information, or maybe that's how the comic is being written. For example, it says that a few days, but how days?
Yeah. It felt like from one slide to the other, they did a lot of stuff in between that just, then this. But of course, it's the expediency of the comic.
Yeah. And then there's the last part of the book.
Yeah, overall, did you like the book?
I liked the book.
Yeah.
I actually like it. So I could say it's 9.
A 9.
But what's the standard?
Well, I don't know. This is your first book in forever, so alright, let's call it a 9.
But am I allowed to say one thing?
Of course you are.
So it feels like at the back of the book, the last part, I feels like I'm not a grammar Nazi or whatever the term it is.
Yeah.
But it feels like during the days, maybe, of course, it can differ, or because right now we are used of having an autocorrect.
Yeah, I
Having
actually
an
noticed
AI.
what you're gonna say now as well, because I also noticed the fact that there was lots of grammatic errors throughout the comic as well. So I guess correction writing or like correcting the grammar, etc., wasn't on par for 1953. But overall, I found it very like an educational comic, probably for people at the time before the actual moonlanding. Yeah,
I feel so.
yeah, decent comic. Would recommend. Let's try and review this thing. So we have again, this comic is really old. It's from 1958, from what I can gather, and it's currently inside this plastic protection pocket. So I'll just take it out for now. I have looked inside it, and I noticed some of the pages are a bit ripped. Not like in a major way, like a rip like this, like these small rips that we have here. You also find these inside the magazine. I would say 10% of the pages have like this kind of small damages. You also have like on the edges of the book, you see you have like this goes through the entire comic. I mean, this might be able to be smoothed out. Other than that, you have all these creases. I can take the edges first. You can see you have the edges around the book here. They look a bit worn, and then all of this is damaged to the back of the book. All the way up here, you see, it also has like a bit of damage. All of this. And generally, it's in a very poor condition in the sense that the entire comic has lots of creases and tears. So you can clearly see all of them. The staples, I don't know. It looks like they're symmetrical, is all I can say about that. It's a really nice cover art, like I said before, but I would probably rate this as a 3 or even 2.5 maybe for a CGC rating. Again, I'm not an expert, man. I would say it would bank around 300 kroner maybe if I find the correct buyer. So that's like $30 maybe. So that's the evaluation of the book.